Hello everyone, Kier here, and welcome to the InfiNOT podcast. I'm focused on the casual nature of the game, and each week I discuss a new patch, the new card, and my feelings on the game. I'm also a part of the Snap Judgments podcasting network, and today I'm going to talk about Snap Judgments, the OG podcast that started out this whole universe of Marvel Snap podcasting content. If you have not checked out Glazer and Roy's podcast, you should definitely do it. They are both very talented individuals, and I can confidently say that, in particular, Glazer is one of the hardest working men in Snap, so if you have not checked out Snap Judgments, you definitely should. Now, let's hop into it. This week is pretty simple. We have a new card and a new OTA, which we will definitely go over, and we'll keep it nice and easy here. So, starting out, we have Human Torch First Steps. He is a 3/2 that says, end of turn, +1 power, once per game if your side here is full, double this card's power instead. So this continues the theme of these end of turn cards, and this is also a theme with the Fantastic Four's filling the location. We're actually going to see that with a location that's going to be added later on. And, you know, the location that we already have in the game that represents the Fantastic Four, the Baxter building, right? It doesn't necessarily say fill the location, but it does incentivize you to, right? Getting +4 power at the other locations matters in a game of Marvel Snap. So I like that they're sort of continuing on with that theme here. We're also going to see that with the Thing First Steps when he comes out. So this is sort of introducing this mechanic, but I think it's a theme, a flavor that they want to keep going forward. And I don't think it's surprising, right? This card is pretty fantastic, and I'm sorry to use that pun there, but I mean, really, this is like Speed, but with a way easier condition to meet. Each turn, you're incrementally getting an extra power, and then at the end, that spike really, really matters, right? Assuming that you play this on turn 3, and then fill the location at the end of the game, you're looking at a 3/10, which by itself is, extremely good. Once again, referencing Speed, right? If you fulfill Speed's condition the entire game and spend all of your energy every turn, you're going to end up with a 3/9. So that alone makes this card, extremely good power-wise. And then you add on to the fact that this card can also have huge potential in scaling, thanks to the double printed on the card, right? So if you have something like Silver Surfer or Forge or Galacta or Gwenpool or any of those cards, those will also help this card reach a higher potential. And of course, with the Fantastic R, this is another card that also really helps to fill in that power at the end of the game. So yeah, I mean, it's extremely good. I'm saying it with every release so far, but this seems like a 5 out of 5 to me. I don't think that you played in every deck, right? I think there's plenty of reasons why you wouldn't put this in your deck, but I've said, and I'm sure a lot of other people feel the same way, like, having a full board really isn't that hard at the end of the game, especially if you're playing cheaper cards. So I think that this is extremely doable, and it's going to be very, very good in a number of lists. It just seems like a premier 3-drop in terms of power. Like, I compare this to a card like Punisher, and I'm like, damn, they really just printed this, and this is going to be what it is. I hate to continue on, like, the power creep sort of idea here, but, like, you look at the way that Mr. Fantastic Four Steps has sort of once again added another 2-drop that is just insanely overpowered. And I don't mean like game-breaking overpowered. I just mean literally has way more power than I think a 2-cost should have. And then you throw Human Torch in the mix, which also does synergize with Mr. Fantastic, right? If he gets the +2 buff from Mr. Fantastic, that helps him scale at the end of the game. Like, I don't know. These things just seem really, really powerful to me. It's like a no-brainer to put them in your deck, but they gotta sell cards, so I understand where they're coming from. Okay, this is the meat and potatoes of the patch. You know what time it is. It's time for the OTA update, and we don't have like a million cards here, but we have a couple, and there's quite a few in here that I'm pretty happy to see. We're gonna do this in an order that isn't what the developers posted, just because this was really impactful to me, and I don't see a lot of people talking about it. The Thing. Not the new thing that's coming out, just The Thing, the vanilla card, is going from a 4/6 to a 4/7. And, like, that's an interesting change. This is the first time I think it's ever happened that a base card like this is getting its power changed. And, part of it could be said that, it's power creep. It's these things that make these base cards so terrible. But I think it's really interesting to me that this is happening because, we kind of stopped using the base cards for their power a long time ago. One of the biggest examples, of course, is the fact that a lot of cards are 4/7s with upside. Wiccan, when he first came out, was a big example of that. So to see The Thing moving up to a 4/7 is really impactful. They mention it's because of high Evo and The Thing almost never getting included. The thing is, I don't see him being included anyway. His effect is just really not that strong, and there are way more impactful cards in that archetype that fit with the Abomination package. So, I don't know, it seems a little weird to me. I'll say though, this is a big moment, I think, for this card. It sort of signifies that they recognize the base power for these cards just aren't keeping up with the times. I also look at a card like Cyclops, and I'm like, yeah, he could probably be a 3/5, right? I don't think that would hurt anybody. But alas, this is what we're getting for now, so really interesting. The next card I want to talk about is Zabu, who is moving from a 1/2 to a 1/1. And you know what? Yeah, probably deserves it, right? The discount that you're getting on a 4-cost card is going to make up for the stats that you're losing in Zabu. And as a 1/2, like, obviously a 1/2 is fine, but as a 1/1, that feels like way, way worse in a spot. Especially when, like, it gets afflicted by -1 and suddenly it's 0 power. Like, these numbers matter, so having it go down to 1/1 feels fine to me. I'm sure it's still going to see play, but it feels way worse to put into a lane. I still think that Zabu decks are extremely good, so I think this is fair. Like, if you're going to have a 1-drop that does this is a fine stat line. I think that's completely acceptable. Okay, next up is Bullseye, who is going from a 3/3 to a 3/2. And while I don't think that this is super impactful, I do like that they're recognizing just how strong this card is on ladder. Like, very rarely do I see a Bullseye deck and win against it. I just play way too many mid-range decks that can't really go taller. So I like that they took a little hit to this. I still think it's going to be good. I still think it's going to see play. So not the most impactful change, but it already puts up enough stats on its own, and when you consider what kind of combos it allows with Morbius and Dawkin and all those things, yeah, a point of power is probably deserved. So, yeah, I'm fine with this. Okay, next up is Jennifer Kale, and she's going from a 2/2 to a 2/3. And I think that's cool. When this card first came out, we were all sort of like, okay, it's just Psylocke, but activate. Not super exciting. And to be fair, she fills a different niche, right? Psylocke is often paired with 4 costs to sort of fill that gap with Zabu. And Jennifer Kale couldn't do that, right? You play her on 2, and then you activate her on 3 to, maybe get a 5-cost out early on 4, or getting a 6-cost out on 6. Or, excuse me, a 6-cost out on 5. You get what I mean. So to see this card going to a 2/3 makes sense to me. It's a lot slower of a ramp option. So yeah, I like this change. I think she might see some more play, and that just feels better to put into a lane, right? 2/3 with an upside. I like it. Cool card. And speaking of 2/3s, Mirage is going from a 2/3, and as a minor change, they have also changed it so that Mirage only copies characters now instead of copying skills. Because, let me tell you, in my Loki deck, I have Mirage in there, and I really like having an option like that because, it can help fill your curve, and the +2 power is nothing to scoff at. But there were times that I got skills, and while those are cool, you're sort of losing out the value on Mirage in that case. So the fact that they buffed her to a 2/3 and also increased the power is incredible. That's really, really cool. I'm super excited to keep playing Mirage. This is a huge win for me. And I think for the card too, it's really good value. You're getting what is essentially 2/5 in stats and, information on your opponent's deck. It could help fill your curve. Really good card. I think Mirage is going to see a lot more play, and I'm happy for it. I think the 2-cost slot has a lot of competition, so having a card like this feels really good. Okay, next up is Green Goblin, going from 3 -3 to 3 -4. And this kind of surprised me. This card, I don't think has really seen any changes since it first came out. But, I mean, the game is just a lot different now. And in particular, the Viper combo with Hood has sort of taken the place of any Green Goblin play. So having it at a -4 is really impactful, and I sort of like the idea that it's like vanilla stats for the negative. I think that just feels better. I don't know if it's going to see play, though. The downside is pretty significant. If you sort of telegraph that you're playing one of these decks in Clog, your opponent's going to be well aware that their space can be filled, and at that point, Green Goblin gets stuck on your side, and it's a huge pain. But at the same time, this does have a much higher reward. Like a 2/3 is going to lose to this now, right? So if you fill their lane with a -4, it can beat out some other cards that they put there earlier in the game. Which I think is important. That does actually swing the numbers into something that has a lot more value. So this is good. I like this. I just don't know if it's going to slide its way into decks or not. I guess we'll see. Okay, next up is Doom 2099, and the main body of Doom is getting increased from a 4/3 to a 4/4. If you remember a while ago, they changed the bots to have 0 power by themselves, and so they need to buff each other. And I think this is impactful, right? The Doom decks were kind of annoying because they were so easy, but it's still an archetype I'd like to see in the game. Something that incentivizes you to play a card a turn. Maybe like introduce some Sandman back into some decks. I think that makes sense to me. I want that archetype to exist, and having Doom at a 4/4 feels better, right? If the thing is at 4/7, you would hope that the main body of Doom would be a little bigger, and now it is. Assuming that you're not running a full Doom deck, if you play Doom on 4, 1 card on 5, and 1 card on 6, Doom is going to get buffed up to that 4/7 stat line, which is good. I like that. Okay, next up is Marvel Boy, going up to a 3/2 from a 3/1. They nerfed this card a little while ago, and, admittedly it was really, really strong, but I think now is a good time to buff it. I think there are enough really good answers to something like this that moving to a 3/2, I think, is a good move. I'd like to see more Zulus coming back, especially that Gilgamesh package just feels like a really good challenger. Like, hey, did you get your combo? Because if not, my numbers are probably going to be bigger. I like stat checking decks like that. I don't love playing against them. I just like that they exist. You know what I mean? So I'm cool with Marvel Boy getting a buff. It also sort of makes sense with that sort of high Evo thing that they're pushing right now. If they want that deck to succeed more, this is something they could do. I do find it odd that with the Fantastic Cars release, it's like, in the high Evo deck, the Marvel Boy package is cool, but like you're probably just running Fantastic Car and getting the same amount of value, or even more. So interesting. I don't know if it was the right time for it, but I do think that it's relevant to the card. Like in a vacuum, this is cool. It's just the high Evo deck is kind of strong already, so I don't know. We'll see how it pans out. I do like Marvel Boy to 3/2 though. Okay, last up is Negasonic Teenage Warhead, going from destroying cards to characters, and this is really important, right? With cards like Merlin in the game, you used to be able to just, like, chuck a cheap Omniversal Presence into Negasonic, and it would activate her effect, and then you would just get to play there for free. So the fact that they're changing it to character means that, you know, this is still a threat, even if you have skills, which I think is fair, right? This card should be a threat to some people's game plans. And I also like that this card rewards you for priority. There are only a couple of cards in the game that really do that. A lot of cards are reactionary, so you pair this and Juggernaut in a deck, and you're going to steal some games for sure. Okay, that is everything that I have to talk about in terms of Marvel Snap, so thanks for listening. I will say, as a little update for me, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with Marvel Snap content. I'm a little iffy on the game right now, so you'll have to bear with me. I know I've been missing a couple of streams, but I'm still trying to figure out a game plan on exactly how I want to handle that stuff, and I'll update you guys as soon as I know what I want to do. In the meantime, you can check me out on my socials at Kiernimbus, especially on Blue Sky. I post often there, and if there's one thing that you can remember, it's that I'm InfiNOT. Thanks for listening.